Now, the search for a missing crew member has been called off after a cargo ship collided with a tanker full of jet fuel in the North Sea. These are the latest pictures about 13 miles off the Yorkshire coast. You can see a large hole in the side of the US-registered Stena Immaculate. The large fire that was raging after the collision has now been extinguished. 37 crew members from the ships were brought ashore safely. The collision involved the Stena Immaculate, which was transporting fuel on behalf of the US military, and the Portuguese-flagged cargo vessel Solong. The government here says the environmental impact is being rapidly assessed. Aruna Younger has the latest.
Toxic smoke billows out over the North Sea as coastguards and marine experts try to work out how this could happen. Yesterday morning, the US-flagged Stena Immaculate was at anchor 10 miles off the port of Hull when the Portuguese cargo ship, the Solong, crashed into it. The US ship was carrying 43 million litres of jet fuel, believed to be for military use. The Portuguese vessel's cargo included 15 containers of highly toxic sodium cyanide. Crew members abandoned both ships as they were rocked by explosions. Sailors scrambled to life rafts. They were taken to Grimsby, where they were given dry clothing. One mariner was taken to hospital.
36 crew members were taken safely to shore. One crew member of the Solong remains unaccounted for, and after an extensive search for the missing crewmen, sadly they have not been found and the search has been terminated. The two vessels remain on fire and Coastguard aircraft are monitoring the situation.
The Transport Secretary, Heidi Alexander, said she was hugely grateful to Coastguards, the RNLI and emergency services who responded. She said, "My thoughts are with all those involved, especially the family of the missing crew member." She added that the Maritime Accident Investigation Branch had started looking into the incident. The Stena Immaculate had sailed from Greece and was due to continue along the Humber. The Solong was travelling from Grangemouth in Scotland to Rotterdam in the Netherlands. The weather had been foggy and visibility was poor, but questions are being asked why the Solong did not detect the anchored US ship on its radar. There are fears the chemicals involved could have a huge impact on the local environment.
Jet fuel is also toxic. It's lighter than water, so it will stay on the surface largely. And anything, of course, that comes into contact with it, I mean, if it's neat jet fuel, will ingest fatal quantities.
This area is a busy fishing ground and hosts large seabird colonies. As investigations get underway into the causes of the collision, environmental groups will be monitoring closely the longer-term effects to the Yorkshire coast and Humber estuary. Aruna Iyengar, BBC News.
Well, let's get the latest from our reporter in Grimsby on England's east coast, Phil McCann. And Phil, we're seeing those latest pictures showing extensive damage to the Stena Immaculate. What more is happening in terms of the operations by authorities on the ground?
Well, we know that an investigation has already begun by the Maritime Accidents Investigation branch of the UK government, which sent a team here yesterday. Those helicopter images really show just how dramatic this incident was, with a huge hole really that looks to have been ripped in the side of that oil tanker by the cargo ship, the cargo vessel that crashed into it. We've also had some very dramatic descriptions from some of the members of the crew who were on board that oil tanker. One the BBC spoke to last night, who described how the cargo ship, in his words, came out of the blue. Another who has spoken to the BBC's US partner network, CBS News, who's described how the crew on board the oil tanker had only seconds to react. He said there were shouts to brace before the impact. He said the Solong didn't immediately stop and in fact appeared to drive into their ship for what seemed like 10 minutes. He then described how flames immediately erupted and the crew jumped into action trying to fight the fire before they realised that that was effectively a lost cause and they had to abandon ship. He said flames were lapping at the crew as they went onto the lifeboats. Some of them even had singed hair because the fire was so close to them. And very significantly, this crew member speaking to CBS News described how the previous day they had anchored at the spot where the incident happened off the coast of East Yorkshire and had relayed their coordinates. And so he said everyone should have known where they were.
Phil, thank you. That's our reporter Phil McCann in Grimsby there.